Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast brought to you by Nerdtropolis. And I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis. And joining me as my co-host is the incredible Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. Say hello, Drew.
Hello, Drew. No, just kidding. Hello. Yes, it's a high praise in the title. I don't know if everybody will agree with that based on things I have to say later, media and movie mastermind, but I will take the title and proudly wear it and flaunt it around.
Yeah, and together we're diving deep into the fascinating world of cinema, where we explore everything from beloved classics to the latest blockbusters. We're both passionate movie enthusiasts, and we believe that the magic of storytelling and the art of filmmaking have the power to transport us to new worlds, evoke a wide range of emotions, and spark thought-provoking discussions. Whether you're a casual moviegoer or a dedicated film connoisseur, more like Drew, I think he's the dedicated film connoisseur, this podcast is for you. So join us on this cinematic adventure as we dissect and analyze films and narrative structures, exploring the performances that bring them to life. We love movies, don't we, Drew?
We do. Almost a little too much, like you said. I like to see everything, for better or for worse, whether it looks good, whether it's bad. I just love going to the movies. I'm a believer in seeing movies in theaters when possible. That doesn't mean I don't like watching movies at home or on streaming. I will watch them anywhere that I can. But yeah, like you said, Sean, just a big fan. You know, I've been following Nerdtropolis since you started it up, and several years ago, even I think I slid into those DMs when you were starting up movie reviews and everything, and wanted to help contribute in any way that I could. And you were kind enough to let me contribute reviews and you know, some writing to Nerdtropolis, and that has just helped us to bond over the years. And I've had a podcast in the past that you guested on pretty consistently, actually. So now happy to return the favor and be here for the Nerdtropolis Moviegoer Society podcast. It's going to be pretty incredible.
I think it's going to be a fun time. And Drew and I will share our thoughts and opinions and recommendations, shedding the light on hidden gems and just celebrating timeless classics that have shaped the industry. But it's just not about the movies themselves. We also delve into the broader culture impact of cinema. So grab your popcorn, guys, find your favorite seat in the theater like we do, and join us as we embark on a thrilling cinematic adventure. So on this episode, we're going to dive into Mission Impossible, aka Dead Reckoning Part 1. But before we get there, we want to make sure that you can connect with us online. Where can they find you?
Best place to find me, where I'm throwing movie thoughts out into the universe, is on Twitter, and you can find me at Drew Munhausen. That is the best place to find me, is on Twitter.
Yeah, and you can find me almost on every social media platform out there at Sean Taj. And don't forget to visit nerd-tropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And right now we have a couple of fun 30th anniversary articles on the site today, revisiting Hocus Pocus and Free Willy. So if you're looking for a solid dose of nostalgia, we just dropped those. And Drew just dropped a review for the new horror flick from A24, Talk to Me. How is that film, Drew?
It's pretty spooky, man. It's really good. It's first time directors, first time feature film directors, and it's an Australian horror movie. It's distributed by A24, which, you know, has a pretty good reputation here in the States. And you know what? I thought it was a really solid, creepy summer horror movie. I think that people that are a fan of the genre are really going to find a lot to like there. Yeah, I mean, what's better than the newest party trick, which is, you know, it used to be alcohol and drugs, and now the kids are going to the parties and grabbing embalmed hands and speaking to the dead. You know, what could be better than that?
Yeah, I heard a lot of crazy reactions for that film, and I heard it was really scary, and I don't do horror. So thank you, Drew, for taking the bullet for that one and checking that one out. So that is on the website. Drew does a lot of contribution for Nerdtropolis, and we go see a lot of movies together, or we'll be seeing them separately. Heads up, we're going to be seeing some movies separately this coming Tuesday, I believe. It's a double feature in two different places. I'm going to go be catching Barbie. And Drew, what are you catching?
I am catching the much anticipated Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan.
So that'll be super exciting. And we hope to I also hope to catch Oppenheimer when I can. Drew's going to try to catch Barbie We'll see. Our schedule is kind of packed right now. I'm headed to San Diego Comic Con later this week, so I'll be doing a lot of coverage from the con. And I think we should dive into some fun news lately before we jump into maybe Mission Impossible 7. There's been some fun comic book movie news. We got some Superman Legacy casting news. We had maybe 4 new additions to the new James Gunn movie. So
remind me of who all they are. I remember reading. I know Nathan Fillion. Who else has been added?
I think
here?
So. That's the biggest one, I believe, is Nathan Fillion is playing a Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and they're also adding Isabella Merced, who is known for the live action Dora the Explorer movie.
Right.
And she's playing Hot Girl. Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. And adding Mr. Terrific, I think, is a total just awesome addition. Comes out of nowhere. I think James Gunn is really pulling some surprising characters to show up in Superman Legacy.
Would you say that his power set is terrific?
It is terrific, but he's also known as the third smartest man on Earth. So obviously his brain is probably his biggest superpower amongst other things. So we have those additions. And I think one of my favorite additions to James Gunn's Superman Legacy is one of my favorite actors from Barry. You watch Barry?
I do. I've watched
you know
all
this
of Barry.
guy, Anthony Carrigan. So he's playing Metamorpho. And I think just all these awesome surprises that James Gunn is pulling is going to be very reminiscent of what he does with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, admittedly, when I started seeing all of these names drop and all the different characters, I thought this was going to be more of a grassroots Superman movie. Maybe not pure origin, but just, a young Superman. And so seeing all of this different casting initially for me, I thought was a little bit scary, just because I didn't want this all to get too messy. But I have to, take a step beside myself and remember that James Gunn is kind of the king of team movies here. We've seen 3 Guardians movies that are solid. The Suicide Squad was good. And so, I'm just going to give faith. Admittedly, over the past few months, James Gunn's presence, promoting Guardians, but then before that, when he was announced in his new role with DC Films, I started to get a little bit, I don't know. Yeah, you start seeing somebody in the news a lot and you almost start to turn against them. And I started feeling that, like, am I getting tired of James Gunn? But then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was in a place where I needed an MCU movie that I did enjoy. And I really liked Guardians Volume 3. And so I'm just maybe still cautiously optimistic, but definitely optimistic about Superman Legacy. And if there's anybody that can fit in these different characters, it's James Gunn. I am kind of excited about Guy Gardner because he's kind of the most intriguing of the Green Lanterns, the main Green Lantern characters we've had over the years. If you're not going to do, like a Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner is a character that you can have a lot of fun with.
But I also think, Guy Gardner showing up is a test for the other Lanterns, and Nathan Fillion, I don't think he's going to have like his own leading movie. I think it's just more of a small appearance. This is how the Lanterns can look on the big screen and then kind of milk a full Green Lanterns movie with everybody.
And it sounds like, obviously we're moving into a world that's already populated by superheroes in Superman Legacy. So there's it sounds like nobody's going to be surprised that there's a new hero in town. Or, well, Superman will probably be established, but we'll see. I'm just... we'll see what other news drops. I'm sure this isn't going to be the last of it. Yeah.
And the fact that this is kind of the first DCU movie, despite Blue Beetle kind of being the first character that will be absorbed into the DCU, I love seeing all these characters pop up because now I have faith into the new Batman movie, because apparently the Bat family is already existing. So there's no really origin movie there too. So that's really fun that we can just jump into everything that we've been waiting for decades in these other movies that we didn't get to see, where it be a Superman movie or Batman movie. We got to see more of these characters interact with Superman and Batman, which is fantastic.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really great. And then Marvel is doing some fun stuff too. As Deadpool 3 was filming, and they just released this awesome photo of Deadpool and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in a yellow and blue outfit. You saw the pictures, right?
Of course, of course. How can I not? Those pictures are everywhere now. I don't know if I've ever seen some set photos go viral faster than this did.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Apparently, the characters from the Fox Marvel movies will be making appearance. Apparently, Ben Affleck is Daredevil. We'll back get Elektra in there. I think it's really exciting. The story that will be taking place, and there's a set photo of like 20th Century Fox logo, like off the side of a cliff and sand that's like broken. So the story is definitely a multiverse story, and I'm just super excited. I really don't want to be too spoiled about what's going on with this film, but all these movies now have to take a pause, right, Drew? All these movies have to now break because there's some big news going on in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's right. So it's official. You know, they've been talking for a while, but the Screen Actors Guild has announced a unanimous vote to go on strike, and this is a really big deal. You know, the Writers Guild has already been on strike for a couple months now, and this is the first time since 1960, so over 60 years since there's been a dual strike, multiple guilds here on strike. So it's a really big deal. You know, Hollywood's basically coming to a standstill, and this is on the I think the same day or around the same time that the Emmy nominees came out. And I know you, Sean, are talking about going to San Diego Comic-Con here in the near future.
And I'll tell you, panels have been canceled, sightings have been canceled. I have a few interviews locked in, but two of them that have to do with people that are part of the SAG-AFTRA group got canceled. So it's happening, guys. Like, it's really, we're going to feel it very soon. Right now, San Diego Comic-Con will be the first to really feel this, and then obviously all the new movies coming out that there's no promos or interviews or presses for it.
Yeah, they actually had the London premiere of Oppenheimer, and they moved it forward an hour so that the stars could be there on the red carpet and make the appearance before the strike officially started, because once the strike started, they all left. So and they've confirmed that happened. They left the premiere.
Yeah, that is wild, and we do support the writers and the actors. It is a tough time for everybody, but things need to change for the future for this industry. But we love covering it. We love movies, so we want everyone to really have great success with all their work and be, compensated properly.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, and I'm let me be clear, I am not the biggest expert on this in the world, but I am interested in kind of reading the behind the scenes things. But there's a lot of issues at play here. But just from what I've been able to parse through, streaming is a big part of this, and basically, with a lot of movies and studio films, actors could negotiate salary based on how successful the movie was, and if the movie made X amount of dollars, the actors or actresses would be compensated appropriately. And in the streaming age, it's not a thing. A lot of these streamers don't release their viewership numbers. They tell you when something's been watched, maybe this many hours or so on, but they're not always saying how many, and you just know it's a hit or it's not. But the actors that are in these, and this goes with the writers too, they're not compensated for that. It doesn't matter if your show's a flop or if it's a big hit. You get paid what you get paid, and that's it. So that's a big part of what the actors are trying to negotiate. And then of course AI is a big factor in this too. And if you've been reading the news headlines this week, there have been headlines about extras who are being potentially scanned by studios.
Yeah, that's the wild part, Drew. Is like they're saying background performers should be able to be scanned and get 1 day's pay, and then the company owns the scan for the rest of their life. It is wild.
Right. And so, of course, that's not sitting well with a lot of people. And then with a lot of actors, there's a lot of them that don't necessarily mind, like this, for bigger stars, they don't mind their likeness necessarily being scanned and used in future projects, but they just want to be compensated appropriately in the future when those are used. These are just small bits and pieces of the issues at play, but I think these are some of the big ones that viewers might be interested in, and just a little insight. But yeah, with SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild both on strike, Hollywood has essentially come to a standstill, and these actors now can't promote any of the movies they're in, not even at San Diego Comic-Con, not on social media, nowhere. And that makes things really tough, because while the writers have been on strike for a while and there's a lot of issues at play, SAG-AFTRA obviously has a lot more high-profile membership involved that have been vocal on their stance here. And that means a lot to the general public, is seeing the actors and actresses and the famous people that they really like and follow standing strong on an issue. And yeah, it naturally gets a lot of public attention. So it'll be really interesting to see how long this goes on for, because my understanding is the Writers Guild is not there. That strike's not coming to an end anytime soon. So there's no telling how long this could go on for. So we'll see.
That's true. And I think the actors will get a deal before the writers. I think that's what's going to happen. And I know the Directors Guild just kind of negotiated a contract that was greenlit, but Christopher Nolan said that he's not working on anything currently until this all gets resolved. So Hollywood is definitely turning off the lights right now until this gets resolved. And also like with Blue Beetle coming up, I know like all the DC stuff has been not doing really well. And there was a big hope that Blue Beetle will do well at the box office. But now with all of this, no press and everything, I feel like DC is going to get another big hit, maybe losing some money with Blue Beetle.
Well, and also imagine that has a lot of stars that aren't as well known, and these talented folks get a chance to, we're probably looking forward to being able to promote their movie, and now the guild's on strike, and obviously for a good reason. But yeah, I can't imagine how much that's gotta hurt, and that we can't showcase these young stars in the same way that we maybe would have otherwise.
Yeah, there's going to be some losses at the box office, but that's to come when these negotiations happen and all these strikes. But hopefully something good comes at the end for both the actors and the writers. And currently, we got a big blockbuster in the movies that has done pretty well at the box office the last 5 days. And we're talking about Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Have you seen all the Mission Impossible movies?
I have, but admittedly, I didn't do my homework before Dead Reckoning Part 1 came out. I wish that I had the time to have watched all 6 movies again to have them fresh before this one, but I've seen most of them a couple times over the years, and I know I rewatched the first couple of them before Fallout came out. So, I feel well versed enough despite not having them all fresh in my brain.
Yeah, and this movie is a Part 1 movie, and the synopsis for Dead Reckoning Part 1 is Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt and his IMF team are on the most perilous mission yet. Their objective is to locate a horrifying new weapon that possesses a threat to all of humanity before it lands in the wrong hands. The future is at stake, and the fate of the world rests in their hands. However, dark forces from Ethan's past are closing in, making the race around the globe even more lethal. Ethan must prioritize his mission above all else, even the lives of his loved ones. And I have to say, I watched the previous Mission Impossible movies, but I couldn't tell you what the plot is. But these movies actually are amazing, and I really did enjoy this one. But Drew, let's hear it from you. What did you think about Dead Reckoning Part 1?
I'm right there with you. So let me say this. I left Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 with a similar feeling to when I left the theater last year for Top Gun Maverick. And I don't know how better to vocalize this other than saying it just felt like a movie. Like it just, there's something about these big budget Hollywood action movies that you don't get the same feeling when seeing like one of the new MCU movies or something like that. Like this just feels like a movie. And Tom Cruise was a big star. And I really enjoyed this. It's definitely another Mission Impossible movie in the sense that it's a little plotty. It's kind of easy to lose the thread of like all the nitty gritty details of the impossible mission that they're going on. But at the end of the day, it's all about the big action set pieces and Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt saving the day and masks and cool reveals and things like that. And that's all here. So it definitely fits in the franchise. I think it's a really strong entry in the franchise. And I think that we're at a place now where with Top Gun Maverick's success last year, Tom Cruise's star is just as high as it's ever been. And so I think that, you know, this movie, it just has a big picture feel to it. I don't know how else to describe it. The other thing I want to know, and I won't get into spoilers here of the plot, but it's in the marketing, it's on the poster everywhere that this is a part one. And the thing to note about that I think is interesting, because we're in an interesting summer of part ones. We had Fast X a couple months ago. We had Across the Spider-Verse recently, and now this. And the interesting thing about it is they're all very different in their part ones and in how they leave off. And for me, and again, not to get into spoilers of any of the other films either, but Fast X just ends very abruptly, and it like kind of made me laugh. I was like, this is ridiculous. Across the Spider-Verse ends on a very intriguing cliffhanger, but it's like, it doesn't leave you feeling mad that the movie ended. You're just like, oh, I want more, but that was so good.
But we could probably jump a little spoilers. It's been some time, because I wanted to compare that Fast X ending to Across the Spider-Verse, where it just seems like in Fast X, they just cut the movie. They just like, there's a whole part of the movie that just got cut. There's really no end to it. It's just like blank screen. And you're like, wait, this is something that was mind blowing about to happen. No explanation. And then Across the Spider-Verse was almost like it's a 2-part story, and they did conclude it, and then it kind of will pick up next time. But that's the thing I wanted to point out.
Fast X, and let's be clear, I read a lot of movie news. I knew going into Fast X that it was a part one. I was very well aware of the fact, and I was still flabbergasted when the movie ended. It's like you said, it's just your mid-action scene and then credits roll. And I was just like, I grabbed my hair. I was like, what just even happened? Whereas Across the Spider-Verse, I again knew was a part one, and not like I was watching the clock during the movie by any means, but it got to a point where I was like, this movie's been going on for a while. Like, we've got it. Are they going to wrap it up soon? And then it just ends on a perfect cliffhanger. I thought, like, just builds it up and is going to leave everybody ready to see the sequel. And Dead Reckoning Part 1 is, I feel like, a very clean ending for a part one. You definitely end this half of the story, and you can see some things that are probably going to happen in part two. Like, I think it's pretty easy to predict some big set pieces or plot lines that will happen based on how this one ended, but it doesn't leave you feeling like Fast X, where I felt like I got slapped across the face when the credits rolled.
You felt satisfied.
This was very satisfying. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, the ending on this one, we're not going to get into spoilers, but this is a part one movie, and you see these big action scenes, and how it ends is in a big action way. So, next step is for Ethan Hunt to continue his mission. It's one of the biggest missions he's been on, I feel like, with the set pieces and the stunts. Pretty awesome. But I'm with you. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I forget the plots of all the other Mission Impossibles. I don't remember any of them. I just remember the awesome action scenes. And I think this movie, I think the villain, whatever you want to call it, is memorable. And I think a lot of the scenes are memorable, and the actresses are memorable. You have Haley Atwell, and you have Palm Clemente, who is Mantis in Guardians. And I thought they were just breakouts in this movie, with tons of fighting, tons of action, and really stealing the spotlight from Tom Cruise, which I think he did on purpose. I think he wanted the ladies to shine, and they did great.
I agree. So the Mission Impossible movies have a pretty big roster that has been growing over the years, and a lot of those characters are back for this one. But like you said, you've got new additions in Haley Atwell and Palm Clemente. And Haley Atwell, obviously we've seen her in Captain America and the MCU and some of these other things. I admittedly did not watch all of the Peggy Carter series.
I'm with you.
So
I did not.
So I can't speak to that, but she blew me away in this movie. Like, despite me already being aware of her, I'm like, this blew her up to movie star status for me. And she and Tom Cruise had great chemistry throughout. I just thought she was incredible. I've always loved Rebecca Ferguson, so it was great to see her, and Vanessa Kirby as well. And then I agree, Palm Clemente, it's very interesting because she's kind of like a bruiser assassin character in this movie.
I got Harley Quinn vibes from her.
Yeah, but except she doesn't speak very much, really at all, until
not speaking wise, but kind of her look, and then her ability to fight and stuff like that.
I thought it was very interesting because to go back to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, for me personally, Mantis was kind of an MVP of Guardians Volume 3. And I thought she was just excellent in that and so charismatic and very funny, and just has so much personality. And in this movie, a lot of that was subdued, but she spoke all with her movements and action, and it was a physical form of communication in this movie that made her come across really strong and powerful, which is not something you get as much from the Mantis character. So it was interesting to see those sides of her, but then at the same time you can't help but be like, oh, but I know how charming and charismatic she is, so I'd love to see that come across. But it is also kind of funny the relationship Drax and Mantis have in Guardians, and now Dave Bautista and Pom Klementif have both played this kind of character. Now, Pom doing it here in Mission Impossible. Bautista did it back in, Spectre, the 007 movie. So it's kind of funny that they've both now kind of played these roles, but are also buddies in Guardians. But yeah, and then, I don't know if we've shut it out yet. Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg are back here, and they're great as usual. Maybe a little bit underserved here because there's a lot of some new characters and other things to shine a spotlight on, but they're still great. And then the other person to mention is Henry Czerny, who is back from the first Mission Impossible. So there are some ties here to that first movie, which are kind of interesting, which I feel like a lot of these movies tend to do. When you get to the 6th, 7th entry, whatever it is, it's like you kind of go back to basics in some aspects. So
do you recommend watching maybe the first one, and then maybe is it 5 and 6 that have Vanessa Kirby in them?
Probably so. Yeah. Cause maybe do one and then do the McQuarrie ones. Like you said, the Christopher McQuarrie directed Mission Impossibles, which are the 5th one, Rogue Nation, the 6th one, Fallout, and now this one. Yeah, that's probably the best bet. If you can only watch a few, maybe choose those. But again, I ended up not being able to really rewatch any of them, and I still had a great time. So I don't think you're gonna miss out on that much.
No, you're not. You're gonna be distracted with like the heart-stopping action scenes and the stunts that Tom Cruise does.
Yeah, there's the set piece that is. I won't. Again, I don't want anybody to worry that
look behind Drew. That is Tom Cruise. That's not a stunt double. So the fact that he's on that bike making these jumps, that's just a small bit of what happens in this movie. He has a great passion for stunts.
It's the big money shot in the trailer, right? Like if you've seen the trailer, you've seen this. If you've seen Instagram or social media where Tom Cruise was doing videos promoting the movie, you've seen bits of this stunt. And I won't say how it ends or what happens, but I'll say that it is stunning and incredible. It's incredibly executed. It's great.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and Tom Cruise just knows how to be an action star. I think he is the action star of our generation. I don't think anyone really lives up to it because he does so much behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes, and he's just so patient of his craft, just like he was with Top Gun Maverick, because I really enjoyed that movie. Walking out of that movie, I was like, this is a blockbuster, a summer blockbuster. And I felt the same with this one. I think this movie probably is, for me, the best movie of the year so far, even though I did rank a couple movies close to it. I know Drew and I agree a lot on some movies, but there's I know a couple that I thought were really good. Drew has critiqued them a little less, but this one I really love. I really love the new Transformers movie. I thought that was a really fun summer blockbuster as well. But I think this is the movie so far, entertainment value wise, that we've seen.
I'm actually pulling up my Letterboxd at this very moment, just to see some movies that maybe stood out. I really liked Past Lives came out this year. I really liked this. Across the Spider-Verse is probably up there for me. There have been some good ones for sure. But
I love the Super Mario Brothers movie. That was like a perfect movie for me. That I love that. That was a lot of fun. But going back to kind of like a real deal blockbuster, I think this one knocked it apart. Everything was so practical in it. No CGI. It was just the most real summer movie you can watch that was just full of action. Nothing where you point out is like, that looks fake. That doesn't look right. I don't believe that. It's really just a really fun way to just stay out of the heat, that we're having this summer. and just have a good time. And I think it clocks at what, 2 hours, maybe 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's pretty long. But that being said, I never really felt the length that much when I was watching it. Like it didn't feel like it dragged. It maybe gets a little plotty at times and you get people sitting in rooms talking, but these are great actors that are doing it. So I can't complain too much.
Right. And most of the runtime, there are some chatty moments, but the stunts and the scenes with the big action scenes are drawn out. They're almost like filmed at one time. I think that train sequence that you see in the trailers, they said they did it like in one sitting. And that's a pretty legit scene.
The train sequence is incredible. There's an extended sequence in the first half of the movie that takes place in an Abu Dhabi airport. That scene is amazing. That's a good way to put it. With the drawn out set pieces, is that the action keeps you on the edge of your seat, truly not just for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. It's like for extended periods of time. It's really well done. Yeah,
this movie was really like a masterclass of how to put these action sequences together. Some of the coolest locations they use, and this is just part one. This is just part one for this movie.
Yeah, I'm. Do you think so? They say part 2 is supposed to come out next year. Is that going to happen? Do we really?
Now we wait.
Has it been shot?
I don't think so, and that's supposed to come out in June 28th, 2024. But now with everything going on, there's going to be delays even further for anything that's currently filming in production that hasn't started yet. I don't see how they could have started maybe some of it.
Apparently they were aiming to shoot them back to back. So I just don't know if that officially happened or not. So I'm genuinely not sure.
And all the part 1 movies of this year were supposed to be back to back filmed, and it never happened. Obviously you had COVID that played a big effect, but these movies that come part 1, part 2 is going to be maybe delayed another year. I feel like back then you had some like Matrix 2 and 3 that came out the same year. I believe do we ever get Avengers?
Those were truly filmed back to back or simultaneously or whatever they did. Yeah. And same with the Infinity War and Endgame.
Those days are gone. I feel like we have to wait. And I hate that. That's probably the one thing I hate about these types of movies is either you don't lose interest per se, but they just don't hold the same gravitas to it, when you watch it sooner than later.
I'm not optimistic that Beyond the Spider-Verse is coming out next year either. I don't know. Unless that movie is secretly completed already, it's hard to see that coming out in less than a year.
I don't think so. They haven't started on it, and it takes so long to animate those movies. There's so much to it, and especially with that long runtime they did for Across the Spider-Verse, I just don't know what's going to go on that one. And you got Fast X, which is supposed to be a 2-part film finale. Now they're adding a third film. They're doing that spinoff with The Rock, but I'm not sure if that's technically the last film that's the filler, or they're adding another one. It's just confusing if that franchise.
I have no idea. Oh man. Yeah. That's tough. What was the other one? Oh, I will say though, like on the optimistic side, I remember when Dune Part 1 came out just a little less than 2 years ago at this point. And granted, that movie I think had been completed. It was supposed to come out in 2020 and got delayed a year because of COVID-19. But that movie came out and was successful, and then they immediately greenlit the Part 2, and they had not filmed it yet. And now here we are 2 years later, and that movie's coming out in the fall, and I don't think there's any doubts that that's coming out. There's trailers. We're all set. So if they can turn around a big Dune movie, although that one did not have a strike or multiple strikes halting it, but we'll see.
And to be honest, the set pieces for those movies, I mean, the movie looks amazing. There's not much detail in the desert per se. There's not much build out with some bare walls and stuff like that. I mean, it's a really cool landscape they built for those movies, but not crazy stunts, nothing like Dead Reckoning Part 1. But I guess we just have to wait and see. Tom Cruise is saying he wants to be like Harrison Ford and play Ethan Hunt in his 70s, which is about 9-10 years from now. And we're going to see an old age Ethan Hunt doing these crazy stunts then.
It's interesting. I am a big Tom Cruise fan, and everything that comes with it. And obviously he's in this stage of his career where he's doing these big action movies and pushing his body to the limit. And I love to see it. I'm not complaining about it, but can't help but wonder, is there going to be a point where I'll say this, before the movie started, there was did you get a message before the movie of Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise thanking you for coming to the movies? Did you get that in your screening?
No, I wish I got that. I like to be thanked.
So I did get that. And Tom Cruise was just looking pretty tired, showing his age a little bit more in that video. You know, he's 61 and he's still doing great. He's still in great shape. He's making these movies work, and I think he's going to be doing that for a while longer. But is he going to hit a point where he gets into his 70s and we can't do these big drama or these big action movies anymore, and maybe he'll do some dramas and do maybe some supporting roles in a drama? Like, do you think that's even in his future? Is it even a possibility at this point?
He's not going to stop working. This man's an animal, and he still has to go to space for one of his movies. And I hope it's a Mission Impossible movie. I don't want some other movie where he ends up space. I want a Mission Impossible movie sends him to space because he has to deactivate a bomb somewhere, you know.
I want the Tom Cruise Oscar nom to happen again. When is it going to happen again? We thought maybe it could happen with Top Gun Maverick. It didn't happen. I would have been all for it. Is he gonna do like an Oscar prestige role or drama, or are we just gonna be having him ride motorcycles off of cliffs until he's well into his 80s?
You're telling me running for 6 minutes straight is not a big dramatic performance right there?
I mean, it should make an award category for it. I don't care.
And we've talked about this before, where stunts need to be a category,
right?
Because it is just amazing the stuff they do that's so practical. That's why I'm excited for Oppenheimer. I want to see what Nolan was able to do with all the practical effects that he created and everything else. And I'm just excited to see that movie. And hopefully Barbie is pretty good. I don't know.
I have heard interesting things about both as far as the buzz from the early screenings go.
I stayed off the internet as much as I can, even though I live off the internet, because I wanted to not be, my opinion be skewed by something I read. But everything looks positive for everything. That's what I like to read.
Do you have a more anticipated between the two for you personally? I know you'll be seeing Barbie first, but that's more of a work requirement as far as if you were just a casual moviegoer and you were going to see Oppenheimer or Barbie, which one are you buying a ticket to?
Because I was bummed that they're both on the same night. I wanted to see Oppenheimer just as much as kind of wanted to see Barbie, to be honest. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm really, really excited for TMNT. I need to show some love to my TMNT right now.
Swerve. Yeah, mega swerve.
Oppenheimer's going to get great. Barbie's going to be great, but TMNT is going to win my heart, just like the Mario movie did. And I'm super stoked for that. I don't really care at that point for anything else. I'm all about the Ninja Turtles. Totally obsessed fan right here. And it's super excited for that one.
I like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I maybe don't have the same level of enthusiasm or nostalgia as you do. I grew up with two older sisters. So, you know, I wasn't
Barbies and Ninja Turtles then for you then.
Yeah, I wasn't getting to watch the old Ninja Turtles movies. It was like Father of the Bride was on repeat in my house, and that's what I had to live with. So I have discovered a lot of TMNT things later in life. That being said, I think that Mutant Mayhem looks awesome. I think it looks great. I love the animation style. I think it is going to be kind of surprise people in the same way that Into the Spider-Verse did back in 2018. Like, people are fans of the franchise and will go see it and then are going to end up getting a really great movie out of it. I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope it does well. If you want to win me over, nostalgia. So like the Mario Brothers, loved it. I love the new Transformers movie. It's the stuff I grew up with. So I'm super excited for this Ninja Turtles movie. I love that they're starting them super young too. Great voice cast. So I'm just excited. A lot of movies this year. Tons, Drew. That means we have more episodes we need to do. Is that right?
That's right. Absolutely. Hopefully every week we're just going to have great things to talk about, right?
We're
I want every movie to be good. Be great, please. I'll have something to dog on soon, though, I'm sure.
new or old, we're gonna watch them. So like if there's something you want us to watch that's totally old school, we'll definitely try to watch them. And got any questions for us, we're definitely going to answer them. You just gotta reach us on our social medias or just go visit nerd-tropolis.com. But I want to thank everyone for joining us for our first episode. That was really fun. Work in progress, but I feel like this was a lot of fun. I don't like watching movies and not talk about them. So this is the best place to do it. It's on the Moviegoers Society podcast from Nerdtropolis. Did you have fun, Drew?
I had a great time. It's great.
Yeah, so we're going to do it again. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and
I'm Drew Munhausen, the media and movie mastermind. And I forgot to add at the beginning, at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, also at Drew Munhausen on Letterboxd, if you want to see what I'm watching there.
That's all we do. We watch a lot of movies. But like Drew likes to say, which I'm going to say too, we'll see you at the movies.